The Army retired the M14 in 1970, replaced it, moved on, and declared the matter settled. But that's not the full picture. It has now been over 50 years since that decision, and the M14 is still in service. That is not a story about nostalgia or institutional inertia. The reason this keeps happening is straightforward. The M14 keeps returning because the problem it was built to solve never went away. Every time that problem resurfaced, the military found itself quietly pulling the same rifle out of storage, a weapon it had already retired twice. What followed was a rifle declared obsolete, then deployed in the mountains of Afghanistan at ranges that should have made it irrelevant, outperforming every modern rifle issued to the soldiers beside it. But listen to this. No one had planned for that. It happened because the terrain demanded it. The M14 entered service with an unusually broad mandate. By the early 1950s, the US military had spent years attempting to consolidate its small arms inventory into a single platform capable of replacing 4 separate weapons: the M1 Garand, the M1 carbine, the Browning automatic rifle, and the M3 submachine gun. The logic was genuine. Maintaining 4 different weapons, firing 4 different cartridges across the same military created a significant logistical burden. The reason this mattered was simple: simplify the system, reduce that burden, and give every soldier the same gun. Springfield Armory delivered the M14 in 1957. It fired the 7.62 by 51mm NATO cartridge, a shortened, slightly less powerful version of the .30-06 that had fed the M1 Garand through 2 wars. It was semi-automatic, with a selector switch for fully automatic fire and accurate to 500 yards in trained hands. But it's not all performance figures. The rifle weighed nearly 9.5 pounds unloaded, and it entered service at precisely the moment the conversation about infantry weapons was moving towards something lighter, with a smaller cartridge and the ability to carry significantly more ammunition without exhaustion becoming a tactical factor. The M14 became the standard infantry rifle. It lasted 7 years. Vietnam complicated the picture quickly. The M14 had been designed with European battlefields in mind. Open farmland, medium-range engagements, terrain where a 7.62 rounds performance at 400 yards actually mattered. What American forces encountered in Southeast Asia was fundamentally different. Dense jungle, engagements that opened at 30 yards rather than 300, and combat that unfolded faster than the rifle's design assumptions anticipated, and it gets worse from there. The rifle was difficult to control on fully automatic fire. The 7.62 cartridge generated enough recoil that sustained automatic fire scattered rounds unpredictably, and soldiers were instructed to keep the selector on semi-automatic, which eliminated one of the features that had supposedly justified the weapon's weight. Jungle humidity warped the wooden stocks. The rifle's length made it unwieldy in dense vegetation. Meanwhile, American advisors had been observing that the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese Army were increasingly armed with the AK-47, lighter, firing a shorter intermediate cartridge and capable of effective automatic fire that didn't punish the shooter for using it. Units that had acquired the AR-15 prototype were reporting outcomes that reached Washington. At close range, soldiers with AR-15s were surviving engagements that the tactical math suggested they should not have won. The reason this mattered to procurement officials was the weight difference in ammunition. Soldiers with the lighter 5.56 round could carry substantially more of it. By 1969, the M16 was the standard infantry rifle, and the M14 had been officially replaced. The M14 spent the following decades in storage, in reserve units, or in the hands of allied nations purchasing surplus American arms. It appeared in training roles and precision shooting competitions, but as a combat platform, it had been set aside. The gun community never fully abandoned it. The design carried genuine accuracy potential, and with modifications, it could be made to shoot well at distance. But its role as a frontline weapon was considered finished. Then, accounts from the 1990s began to surface that started to reopen the question. American snipers operating in Somalia and later the Balkans were encountering a gap between what their available platforms could do. The M14 sniper system, a bolt-action rifle chambered in 7.62 NATO, was accurate and reliable, but between shots, the shooter had to manually cycle the bolt. The reason this mattered in certain situations was speed. When the engagement required fast follow-up shots and distance was still a factor, a bolt gun was not always the right tool. The M16, for all its strengths, lost authority at ranges past 500 yards in ways that created tactical problems. What some units wanted was a semi-automatic platform chambered in a cartridge with more authority than 5.56, accurate past 600 yards, and fast enough for follow-up shots without breaking position. The M14 already existed, already chambered in the right cartridge and modified versions. The M21 semi-automatic sniper variant had demonstrated sufficient accuracy in qualified hands to fill the role. The army began paying attention again. Afghanistan altered the equation entirely. When American forces deployed there in late 2001, the operational environment bore almost no resemblance to the terrain assumptions behind the rifle procurement decisions of the 1990s. Afghanistan is open, mountainous terrain with sight lines stretching a kilometer or more. Engagements opening at 800 yards were not exceptional. But listen to what that meant in practice. The enemy could position themselves at distances where the 5.56 cartridge's performance degraded, not catastrophically, but enough to matter tactically. Soldiers at the receiving end of fire they could not return effectively began making direct requests up the chain of command. The requests were difficult to accommodate because answering them meant acknowledging what the military had not wanted to acknowledge since 1970, that the M16 and its successor, the M4 carbine, had a ceiling. There were environments and engagement distances where 5.56 left soldiers at a disadvantage against an enemy who understood the limitation and positioned accordingly. The army pulled M14s from storage, modified them with synthetic stocks, rail systems for optics and bipods, and deployed them under the designation Mark-14 Enhanced Battle Rifle. It's not that the M14 was the ideal solution. It was the solution that existed. In the specific role Afghanistan demanded, a semi-automatic 7.62 rifle capable of engaging targets past the effective range of the M4 in the hands of trained soldiers. It filled a gap that nothing else in the American arsenal was filling at the time. The M14's continued presence in American service raises a question that goes beyond the rifle itself. The question is what caliber a general-purpose infantry rifle should fire. It sounds technical, but listen to what it actually involves. It is a strategic question, and the answer depends entirely on the environment the weapon will be used in, which means there is no universal answer, and there never has been. The case for 5.56 was genuine and remains genuine in the right context. Lighter ammunition allows soldiers to carry more rounds. Volume of fire matters when engagements are close and fast-moving. In urban combat, in dense terrain, in situations where rate of fire determines the outcome, the 5.56 armed soldier has real advantages. The reason this wasn't sufficient is that the military kept finding itself in both kinds of environments, sometimes within the same deployment. The case for 7.62 is equally sound in different conditions. The cartridge maintains authority past the ranges where 5.56 begins to degrade. In open terrain, at 500 to 800 yards, the difference is measurable and tactically significant. The M14 kept returning not because it was the ideal answer to either problem, but because it was the only semi-automatic 7.62 platform in inventory in sufficient numbers, already understood by the armorer community, already supported by an existing infrastructure. The role the M14 now occupies has a formal designation, the designated Marksman Rifle. It sits between the standard rifleman and the dedicated sniper within infantry squad structure. But that's not all. The role itself emerged directly from combat experience in Afghanistan and Iraq, not from prior planning. A soldier with specialized training and an accurized rifle who can extend the squad's effective engagement range without requiring the full support infrastructure of a sniper team. The M14 was adapted into that role because it fit the specifications that experience had defined. Other platforms have since entered the designated Marksman role. The Army fields the M110 semi-automatic sniper system. Various units have adopted different configurations, but the M14 is still present, and the enhanced battle rifle variant remained in service long enough that soldiers who were not born when it was first retired carried it in combat. There is a pattern running through the M14's service history that is worth stating plainly. The rifle was replaced by a better solution. That solution had gaps. The military filled those gaps with the platform it had replaced. And the result, a design from the late 1950s retrofitted with modern components, performed well enough in the field that the question of what should succeed, it became genuinely complicated. The reason this pattern repeated is not sentiment. It is that the underlying problem kept returning, and the M14 was the most available answer. The criticisms of the M14 from 1970 remain largely accurate. It is heavy by modern standards. Its action requires careful maintenance. At close range, in the environments where the M4 performs well, the M14 offers no particular advantage. But it's not all liabilities. What it carried was a cartridge, the 7.62 by 51mm round, that does things at distance that nothing in the standard American infantry arsenal could fully replicate. Until a lighter platform emerged capable of delivering comparable performance, the M14 held a position in the inventory by default, not by design. In Afghanistan, the enemy understood the gap. They set up at the ranges where it mattered. American soldiers needed a weapon that could reach back. The M14 could. That determined the outcome. The Army is now deploying the next-generation squad weapon, a new rifle and automatic rifle chambered in 6.8mm, a cartridge designed specifically to outperform 5.56 at distance while remaining manageable in sustained fire. It represents the most significant caliber change in American infantry equipment since the M14's original adoption. And the reasoning behind it is, in most of its particulars, identical to the reasoning that brought the M14 back from storage 2 decades ago. Range matters. Penetration matters. An adversary who understands your weapon's limitations will find the engagement distance where those limitations are decisive. But listen to what that means in the longer arc of this story. The M14 did not create these lessons. They were never unknown. The assumption that a single cartridge could answer every terrain, every engagement distance, and every tactical problem a conflict might present was always incorrect. The M14 survived because that assumption kept running into conditions where it failed, and each time it failed, the response was to reach for a rifle that had already been retired. Semi-automatic versions of the M14 are still manufactured. Collectors and competitive shooters continue to work with the platform, and decades of field modification, accurized stocks, chassis systems, optics integration, represent genuine refinement built on a design that has absorbed 50 years of change without requiring replacement at its core. What the M14 leaves behind is a record, not of a perfect rifle, but of a gap that a specific cartridge was suited to fill, and of an institution that kept rediscovering that gap every time the terrain made it impossible to ignore. The soldiers who carried M14s in Afghanistan did not ask whether the rifle was current. They asked whether it could reach the ridge. It could. That was the deciding factor. If this kind of history, the decisions behind American weapons, the gaps between design assumptions and battlefield reality, is something you want to see more of, a like and a subscription help this channel continue producing it.